And the reason why this is a major red flag and what told me that there was something serious going on here was because of the please refund ASAP. It is a phishing tactic that people are doing to try to get you to put money into their PayPal account when they never actually paid for merchandise. Hi everyone, it's Lindey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about a new eBay scam that I have been hearing about. And then coincidentally, someone tried to do it to me last night. I didn't want to talk about it until I knew it was an actual thing and I had experienced it firsthand. But now that it has officially happened to me, that tells me that this scam is a little bit more predominant than I thought it was. And so I wanted to communicate it to you guys so that you could keep your eyes peeled. And then I could also tell you how to handle the situation and to reassure you that you are doing the right thing by not complying with these kind of buyers. And if you like videos like this, where I might be going over some eBay scams that maybe you didn't know about, make sure to hit the thumbs up. That way I know that you like and appreciate videos like this, and it also lets YouTube know that videos like this are important enough to recommend to others. And also remember to share this with somebody that you think could benefit from this information. So now this scam actually comes from the idea of something that is completely valid, and that is somebody purchasing an item that did not arrive. So a lot of the times that can happen. A buyer can buy something from a seller, the seller ships the item, and that item never arrives to the buyer. So when that happens, the buyer would then open a case in eBay stating that their item never arrived, and then they would basically tell eBay how they would like it resolved. The buyer can then tell eBay, I just want a refund, or I want a replacement item, or I want the item that I paid for. But that's not exactly what happened in this case. In this case, I had a buyer send me an offer on an item which I accepted. A couple of hours after I accepted their offer, which they had not paid, I just want to make that clear, they had sent me an offer and I accepted it, but they had not yet paid. They then send me a message a few hours later that says, I ordered this item by mistake. It's the wrong item. Please cancel. Now, when things like this happen, it's really super frustrating as the seller, you know, because you think you have a sale, especially if it's an item that you've been waiting to sell, if you finally accepted an offer because you've been waiting for it to sell, and then it sells, and then the buyer says, please cancel because I ordered on accident, yada, yada, yada. Really frustrating in the position of the seller, especially if that buyer pays for an item to then have to go in and cancel it. So, you know, it was like no harm, no foul almost. The buyer hadn't paid for it yet. So I just went ahead and canceled it, and I selected the reason being canceled at buyer's request. And then that was it. If the buyer has not paid for an item, it's as simple as hitting cancel, selecting from the drop down, and then moving on with your life, going into the listing, replenishing the quantity, or relisting the item if it had ended. That's that. And then you don't have anything to do with the buyer ever again. But this buyer, this little peach, last night I get a message from this buyer that simply says, I didn't get this item. I want my refund ASAP. Now let me tell you where the scam comes into play here. The scam is that this buyer and any buyer that tries to do this to you is banking on the fact that you are a professional seller that is into customer pleasing, and you will just send them a refund. Guaranteed, that is exactly what this buyer was expecting me to do. This buyer was expecting me to say, oh no, your item didn't arrive, let me give you your money back. When, guess what? They never even paid for it. They never even paid for the item. Not only that, but they asked me to cancel it because they bought the wrong thing. And at this point, this is definitely not a mistake. The order had no tracking number. They had no payment history. It was canceled. And this little wise guy assumed that I was the kind of seller that was so into customer satisfaction, probably because my feedback is so good, that I would just simply send them money via PayPal, no questions asked. But that is definitely not what I did. Now, this is not the first time I have had a buyer contact me instead of just opening up a case. Let me tell you that. You know, every single time a package doesn't arrive, almost always the buyer will send me an eBay message before just going and opening a case in eBay, which is something I appreciate. I always appreciate when my buyers contact me directly before just opening up cases in eBay. Granted, I usually just go tell them, hey, you need to open a case in eBay if your item hasn't arrived, but I still appreciate it nonetheless. So when I got this message from this buyer, can you guess what the very first thing I did was? I went into the eBay solds and I looked up that item to see what the tracking information was, to see if the package was ever delivered. Because if you've been a seller on the eBay platform for a length of time, you probably know that if tracking on a package states that the item was delivered, that it's completely out of your hands. And if a buyer states that they never received the package and a case gets opened in eBay, as long as you have a tracking number that states that the item was delivered to the eBay verified address, you're in the clear. So of course, that's the first thing I do. I go to the eBay solds, I look up the item, and I double check the tracking information to see if the package was delivered. But guess what? There was no tracking number, because it was an order that I had canceled. And so then the next thing that I did is I went back in my eBay messages just to look and see what the dialogue was between that buyer and I. Because of course, you know, I had 100 packages since then. I don't remember the details of every single cancellation that I have. And so I wanted to go back into the messages, double check exactly what kind of dialogue was exchanged so that I could see exactly why I had canceled that order. And sure enough, as soon as I read the message, it all came flooding back. It was an offer that I had accepted, and they told me that they had ordered the wrong thing and had asked me to cancel it. And that is when I realized that I was starting to become involved in a scam that I've heard other sellers talking about. It's this idea that a buyer will buy something from a seller and then cancel it, and then later go back to that seller claiming that their item had never arrived and demanding a refund. And the reason why this is a major red flag and what told me that there was something serious going on here was because of the please refund ASAP. Because most of the time, if a package has simply not arrived yet, the buyer still wants their package. They aren't immediately demanding a refund. You know, that's like you ordering something that you wanted or something that you needed, and then if the package doesn't show up, you just going, eh. Because obviously if you bought something, you're looking forward to receiving it. It is very, very rare that I will have a buyer open up a case stating that they didn't receive something, just saying that they want a refund. Usually they'll open up a case and they'll say something like, I want my item, or where is my item, or can you send a replacement item? It's never just, hey, give me my money back. So the fact that this buyer sent me a message flat out saying, I didn't get the item, give me my money back, ASAP, that was a major red flag to me. And so this is how I chose to handle the situation. I went back to the original message where they had asked me to cancel it, and I screenshotted that. And then I replied to their most recent inquiry, and I attached that screenshot to it, and I said, you sent me a message on 2/28/2020 asking me to cancel, and you never paid for the item, so it was canceled and never shipped. I've attached a screenshot of the message that you sent. And guess what? They haven't replied. Go figure. It is a phishing tactic that people are doing to try to get you to put money into their PayPal account when they never actually paid for merchandise. These buyers are really counting on the fact that sellers are busy. We have so many customers, we're not paying close attention, and we might just send someone 20 bucks, because we want to keep our customers satisfied. So as I mentioned before, most of the times if a package does not arrive, the buyer is not immediately asking for a refund. So if this happens to you, that is your first red flag. So never just take someone's word for it and just send them money in PayPal because they're claiming they never received their item. It's also a little funny to me because I'm pretty sure if a buyer never paid for an item, it's a lot for the seller to jump through hoops to send them money. They would have to, you know, send them a transfer direct into their PayPal account. Because there was no completed purchase. There was no finalized transaction to go into PayPal and refund. Really, this is an act of desperation on the part of the buyer, hoping that they will find a seller that will just send them money in PayPal to try to keep them happy. And they're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're probably doing this to a lot of sellers, just trying to see who's going to be willing to send them money and who's not. So if this happens to you, that should be exactly how you would handle the situation. If you happen to get a message like that from a buyer, just backtrack a little bit, go look at your solds and see if the item was actually shipped. And also, bonus tip, if a buyer is saying that an item did not arrive, but you do have a tracking number that states that the item was delivered, you are in the clear. So what's going to have to happen in that case is the buyer is going to have to go ahead and open a case in eBay that their item didn't arrive. And when the buyer opens the case, eBay will notify you that a buyer has opened a case because their item hasn't arrived yet. And basically all you'll need to do is go into the case and respond by uploading the tracking information that you have. And then you also have the opportunity to add in any notes. And that's usually where I would state if the package was delivered. In the notes is where I would state the day and the time and where the package was delivered, whether it was in the mailbox or on a porch. And then after you submit it, that's it. It is completely out of your hands. If tracking information is uploaded, validated, and it shows delivered, if the buyer doesn't have the item, it's going to be up to eBay to resolve it however they see necessary. But you as the seller do not have to give them a refund if tracking shows that the package was delivered. Now, if tracking shows that it was not delivered and maybe the package is sitting in limbo, that's when you're going to have to start communicating with the buyer and try to figure out how you're going to handle the situation. You would want to maybe tell them that it would best suit them to contact their post office and maybe have their post office look up the tracking information and see if they can get that package shook loose wherever it might be stuck. But sometimes it could take a couple of weeks for a package to eventually arrive. So if that's the case, it's going to be up to you as the seller whether or not you want to go ahead and give the buyer a refund. And if you do that with any luck, it's a priority package and you have free insurance on it and you can file a claim. But for the love of all things holy, do not just refund a buyer because they claim they never received their package. There are little scams like this just starting to pop up everywhere. I had been hearing about this one. I thought it had sounded really silly until it happened to me. It was buyers just going around ordering things, canceling them, and then after canceling them, claiming they never got them and saying, give me my money back. Don't give them their money back. They lying. Right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, please do give it a thumbs up. That way I know it. Leave me a comment down below. What scams have you been hearing about? I'm really interested to know what other ones have kind of been flying under the radar for me. I hear about a whole bunch every once in a while. There's always new ones popping up. So I want to hear from you. What kind of scams have you been hearing about on the eBay platform that buyers are trying to do? Don't forget to check the video description. I will put a lot of useful information in there for you guys. And as always, please do remember to subscribe if you'd like to see more content. And I'll see you guys with my next video. Bye-bye.